Yo, so I feel like everyone around my age was taught graduate high school, go to college, go graduate with a degree, and then after that, you're able to buy a house with the money that you've earned from your college degree that I guess is supposed to give you a job that makes six figures, get married, and then have kids, and then white picket fence life. Everyone gets taught that while going through school. At least that's what I think. Like I said, people around my age. But I guess if you're someone who's into the news, because that's where I've kind of been seeing a little bit of it. People ain't having kids like that anymore. Now, granted, I don't watch the news, so if you were to tell me people aren't having kids like that anymore, I would look at you all funny because I'm seeing all these baby showers. When I'm saying, and I'm not here to get into the baby showers with no weddings type of thing, because in reality, you don't need a wedding to be married. But I know what they mean when they say that. But then, I get on social media sometimes and I see, hey, a good amount of people aren't having kids. And they're all for the same reasons most of the time, and they're all very valid. Now, more recently, people have wanted to not have kids because of the state of the world, the wars, climate change, how expensive everything's getting, how unmanageable it's probably going to be in a few years. Teachers are quitting their jobs like midday. A lot of these other kids aren't being raised properly, so you're putting your kids around a bunch of people who aren't being raised properly, even if you are raising them properly. So for a lot of people, the idea of having kids sounds crazy in 2026. And then of course, you got your moderation people, the people who are like, you shouldn't be having multiple kids, or you shouldn't be having a bunch of kids with a bunch of different baby dads. Now that obviously comes from somewhere different. That comes from more so of, affordability, your kids having different dads or different moms, and that not being the best for a child, your kid not having the stability, your kid having to really, get dropped off at grandma's house because you don't have the means to take care of them. And that's more so where I'm kind of ready to talk about today. And yeah, I know this is more of a comedy channel, so I'll try not to get too serious. But bro, kids are expensive. Like, knowing people who have kids, a lot of their money goes to their kids. And a lot of people who don't have kids see that. Because most Americans, in my opinion, I feel like want to spend most of their money on them. So the people who actually take the extra precautions to have, not have kids could sometimes be considered selfish. And I could agree in that sense. I can agree that I'm selfish. But in reality, I wish a lot of y'all were selfish. Because a lot of y'all still spend money mostly on yourselves while y'all have multiple kids, or while y'all even have one kid. And it's a lot of points in this, so I gotta hit. But bro, it seems like a good amount of y'all are just having kids, not really wanting to take care of them because you don't want to be a parent, you just want to have kids. So your kids don't get your 100% best, or even like a good amount of it. And in reality, your best is garbage. You shouldn't be trying to do, you should never hit somebody with, oh, I'm doing my best when it comes to raising kids. And like I said, I think a lot of people who don't have kids or don't want kids currently know that. So the idea of calling somebody selfish because they don't want to have kids, because they either can't afford to have kids or they aren't in the right mindset to have kids, is odd to me, because you might not also be in the right mindset to have kids. You might have kids because, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do, that's what you're supposed to do, it's eugenics. That's one of the dumbest reasons to have kids, in my opinion. Because in reality, what if you don't want to, what if you get sick of having kids and then you got like 2-3 kids that your mind, you need a mental break from them, but it's like you can't really take that mental break like that. You can't take a long one at that, at least. It has to be real quick. And I see a lot of that from the men usually. Like, men who want kids are cool with not taking care of their kids because they don't want to be parents. They just want to have kids. So they'll impregnate a woman 2 times before they even marry her because, like I said, they just want kids. And I feel like a lot of men get into that dog mindset, where, a child with a dog plays with the dog, but he doesn't really take care of the dog. He's just like, oh, I want to play with it, but I'm not going to walk it. I'm not going to pick up his poop, feed it. I want my parents to do that. That's kind of how like a lot of men are with kids, especially when they have kids with someone who aren't, isn't their wife. And I feel like a lot of women do realize that, and that's why they go to the mindset of, yeah, I don't want kids. But yeah, it's a lot of things. It also could be a religion thing, but also with the religion thing I look at is you don't have to have kids. Jesus didn't have kids. So for you to look at me and be like, oh, I'm wrong for not having kids is kind of weird, because Jesus didn't have kids. So basically you're telling me, well, you're better than Jesus? Come on now. And also, a lot of y'all like to assume, a lot of y'all who, want kids and think that everyone should have kids. A lot of y'all like to assume that people who don't have kids are just going around smashing a whole bunch of people, or, deleting the baby when they do get, pregnant. And then in my head, I'm kind of like, why do y'all just think that everyone's doing that? So yeah, it's never ending revolving door. And like, I think just people enjoy, the company with the misery, right? They say misery enjoys company, and that's what I think a good amount of it comes from, when people with kids, just want everyone to have kids as well. Because when I see people who really enjoy their kids, like, they actually wouldn't trade their kids for the world. Like, they don't just say it, but people who actually wouldn't trade certain things for their kids and just genuinely want to spend time with their kids, they all tell you, hey bro, either wait until you're ready or don't have kids. That's what I hear from them. I know plenty of women who waited until they were in their 30s to have kids, and they tell all these women, hey, take your time. Versus the women who had their kids at like 19 or 20 will literally go like, oh no, yeah, kids are this and that, I love my kids, I never trade them for anything. They kind of do the political talk, but when you really experience them with their kids, they're either not around their kids as much as the women who had the kids in their 30s are around their kids, or they just complain about their kids a lot. I knew plenty of people women who had kids before 25 who always complained about their kids, and it was the most annoying thing. Like, no one cares. You had the kid at that age. No one told you to get pregnant. And that's where I get into another thing where I think the lack of free time really gets to people's heads. People who have kids young, the lack of free time just really does it for them. Because losing your free time is one crazy thing. That's why I think, like, you have to really experience living by yourself to really get the best out of life. Like, a lot of people who had kids early, if they would have lived in their own apartment that was fully controlled by them, where they paid the rent, everything was up to them, and they were stable and they had their life together, if they did that for 4 months, they would have been real selective on who they had kids with or when they had kids. Like, granted, I think a lot of things are cope. I am admitting that. And if you aren't someone who's coping and you do have kids, take it with a grain of salt. Don't take what I take seriously. But I just always notice a pattern when I, see these things. And like they say you'll never be ready to have kids, but let's be honest, you can be somewhat ready to have kids. You can have good finances. You can have a good health insurance plan. You can do the research to know the finances that you're going to need and the type of money you're going to be making at that time of when you want kids. You can have a health insurance plan, pulled up that you're going to have to be paying. You can be financially ready to have kids. I 100% believe that. So that goes out the window. You can also be mentally ready to have kids. You see, there have been billions of babies born. Everyone was once a baby, so there's been billions of babies born. You have tons of feedback you can get, so you should guarantee certain things when you have you should guarantee that at one point you are going to be tired. You should guarantee at one point you are not going to enjoy it. There are going to be hard times, so you should prepare yourself for that. And one of the unpopular opinions I have on this topic is that there are more selfish reasons to have kids than there are selfish reasons to not have kids. A prime example, I can give you 3, but a prime example on why it is selfish to have kids sometimes is because a lot of people say they want kids or have kids for the expectation of someone taking care of them when they are older. Because people don't want to go in a nursing home, which you can be. I know people who are in their late 70s who are good at move. I know people who are in the 80s who can move around on their own because they just took care of their body for 80 years. Now, granted, y'all's diets suck. Man, I'm not the best either, but some of y'all, I'll be seeing y'all in public. Yo, the diets ain't the best. So yeah, you might need someone to take care of you when you 60, if I'm being dead ass. But bro, wanting someone to take care of you when you are older is insane, because no one's obligated to do that for you. Especially if you weren't really taking care of that baby when they were younger. If that kid was always at granddad's house or grandma's house, you wasn't really even changing the diapers like that. But you expect them to change your diapers? That's insane. But yeah, so that's what I think about when I, look into that situation. Another reason I see people wanting to have kids, which I know is a joke, But, Project LeBron, getting them to the league. That's why men want to have boys a good amount of the time. That you see the baby showers with the whole the shuffling and stuff. And then, you have the female version of that, which is, having a daughter specifically for, matching outfits or the cute Instagram pictures, the cute baby shower, everything is wanting to show people. That's a selfish reason to have kids. So yeah, bringing a life into that, this world for that reason. What are we doing? And then one of the main ones why people want to have kids is because people don't like wrapping it up and they end up getting pregnant. Like, people have kids because they enjoy unprotected intercourse too much. And that's no offense to y'all, but I'm just saying that is another selfish reason of having kids. And that's why a lot of y'all have kids. That is why a lot of people have kids. So my light just went out and I threw it and broke it because it's been bad for a while. So bad lighting for the rest of the video. Apologize. Let's get back to our regular scheduled programming. But yeah, that's another reason why kids are had, because lack of protection. But when I hear people say why they don't want to have kids, I feel like it's not even a selfish reason all the time. Sometimes people don't want to bring a child into this world. That's not a selfish reason in my opinion. Hey, I'm selfish, so I don't want to bring a child into this world knowing that I'm not gonna want to give it the full on love. I feel like that's not really even a selfish reason, if we're being honest. Because if I know that I don't want to have kids because I enjoy being single and living my life, or just not changing diapers or not hearing crying all the time, I'm confused on how that's a super selfish reason. I'm confused on how that's more selfish than the reasons to have kids. So yeah, that's just where I am on the fence about it. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna get off this topic mainly because the lighting got bad. You know what I'm saying? So hey, we'll pick it up next time. I'm probably not gonna continue this, but yeah, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Not much to say. Go check out my other videos, man. You might end up liking them. If you're new, you know what I'm saying? You might like them. Check them out. But yeah, appreciate you. Deuce.